Okay, back to things here. All right, so to drop another subtool in here, what we need to do is I'm going to close the geometry window. That's our Dynamesh zone. Okay, and I'm going to open up subtool. And if you look at this, this is the only tool we have in our scene right now. Okay, in order to get something else into our scene, we need to append the subtool menu. So that's what this little button does. And you'll see when you do that, you end up with the basic things that you've seen before, the primitives. And also these are any other tools that you have loaded into your scene. So you can load a tool in, you can open up other things, and it will appear then in this menu. Okay, lucky for us though, we have sphere right here. Okay, so if I click on this, it's going to append that and add it to our list. Okay, you can see it's kind of big. Hope you can see that. Okay, so what I need to do is select this item. Okay, right now this is selected. If I select this guy, now it is selected rather than this. Now, in order to clarify some of that, there's a nice feature here where you can turn on transparency, this little button right here, and that's going to make whatever tool is not the active subtool transparent. Okay, that makes sense, kind of, sort of. All right, so if I click on this now, the skull will be transparent and this will be opaque. Okay, so how do I resize that? Well, I can go up to the move tool here, and I can just grab the little block in the middle, the yellow block. What that is uniform scale. Okay, and that just means I can scale that thing, and it will scale in all 3 dimensions at once. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just move that down. Okay, and I'm going to switch to the side view here so I can see where this guy is actually positioned in terms of where the eye socket is, like that. We'll zoom in on that a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to try and get that guy roughly positioned in there. Again, I'm not really using it for an eye as much as I'm using it for a way to shape the muscles and the eyeball around it. Okay, I'll make that a little bit smaller, like so. And then at a certain point here, it's really hard to see with that transparency thing going on. So there's also a ghost button here, which I find a little easier to work with. And again, I'm just using the shift key to snap this into position. Go back to draw mode, and now I'm just going to go back to my sphere here, see what that looks like, and turn transparency off. Okay. Okay, that's not bad. I think maybe if you see this, it means you're on the wrong subtool, because this is what actually scale the head, not the eye. Okay, so I just need to switch back to this one and maybe just make that a little bigger and push it back a little further. That feels a little closer to what I would hope. I think it needs to come up though. Yeah, there we go. Okay, something like that is pretty good. That's going to work for what I'm doing at the moment. Okay, all right. All right, so that thing, if we look at our floor, that guy is off center on this, which is fine. Okay, that's not a problem. And you can see, because I'm on that tool, it's, you know, my mirror or my cursor is trying to play with the symmetry on this thing rather than the polysphere itself. But I want to get another eye in. Okay, so what I'm going to do that is select this, like so. I'm going to go down to deformation or deformation, however you want to say it, and there is a mirror function here. Okay, so whatever tool you have selected, which in this case is the eyeball or the sphere, if I click mirror on the x-axis, which is left and right here, like this, it's going to mirror that. Okay, now notice it didn't make a copy. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to go back to your subtool. You need to duplicate this, and then you can copy one of them with mirror, or not copy it. Once you've got it duplicated here, like that, now I have two, so I have that one, bottom one selected, and it doesn't matter which one you have selected because they are right on top of each other, okay, like so. So now if I go back to deformation, which is down here, and click mirror, that should give me a second eye. Why didn't that work? That's interesting. Oh, right now, why? So just pull one over. No. Oh, it did work. Okay, I know. I just had this one turned off. The visibility right there, little eyeball. Eyes, eyeballs. That one was turned off, so I couldn't see that it actually did what I wanted it to do. Okay. So anyway, that worked. Now you might want to move these two simultaneously. Now that you have them together like this, you can combine these guys into a single subtool, and you can do that with anything as well. And that's where these little eyeballs come in. So if I turn off the skull here, not the skull, the orc, I can merge these guys down. Okay, so I can do merge visible since only those two are together, merge visible, and you'll see what it does. It actually puts a new subtool in. Okay, so these guys are not actually in here at the moment, but I can now append this one in. Okay, and now I have that in my list. Okay, it's a little, as I keep saying, ZBrush is a little hinky, but it never will, it's always going to make a copy of that rather than getting rid of these. And that's actually a good thing in the long run, because then you can do other things with these. Okay, so if I turn these guys off, this is my merged one down here, its visibility is on. Okay, and now if I move those, they're going to be moving around together. Hope that made sense. It's going to be complicated at first, but hopefully that is, kind of gets you a little sense of how that works. Okay, so now that we've got that, let's just, I just accidentally masked those. I don't really want to be working on the eyeballs. Okay, I want to be working on this. Okay, because that's where I want to adjust what I'm doing with the eyelids and stuff. Okay, and essentially what I'll be doing here to start with is just moving the mesh here up and out. Okay, so it kind of covers more of that eye like that. Okay, and then the same thing here. Okay, kind of like that, to give myself a little more. Oh, look, I didn't have symmetry turned on. My bad. I'm going to undo that. Always pay attention to that. If you don't. Okay, remember that's just hitting the X key. That'll turn that on. So you get to see me do it again. Cool. Alright. Just kind of pulling that stuff down like that. Out a little bit. Okay. Because you have these muscles under here that allow you to close and open your eyes, the eyelids. So, snug that up a little bit by making this smaller, because I want that to be a little more cutting in there like that. Okay. There we go. That's interesting. Okay. Not quite perfect, but nothing ever is. Okay. Now, I was just using the mouse with that, so I'm going to go back to my pen here. And I'm just going to use the damn standard in non-sculptress mode here, and just try and push some of this back a little bit. Okay. Maybe I'll just use clay buildup again. I like that it's softer, and that does make more sense to me. A little bit small. There we go. So right now I'm building out with this, okay? And then I'm going to hold Option and just start to carve away at that a little bit, like that. Okay, because I want this to get kind of pushed back in there. More like that. Okay, and then I'm going to just smooth that out a bit. Oops. I was hitting the S key instead of the Shift key. Sometimes happens. Okay. This needs a little bit more geometry here in this area of the eyelid. There you've got that little area in there where the tear duct is. And if any of you have watched the videos on YouTube from Flip Normals, that's where a lot of these little tips and stuff that I've learned come from. They're like the experts at doing some of this stuff really fast and efficiently. Okay, so I'm going to go to Sculptress now, and I'm going to just, oops, not like that. I'm just going to hold down Option and flatten some of that out a little bit. And then build this up on the outside. I'm kind of creating a shelf there on the eyelid, which is kind of where this one meets this one. And it's fairly sharp. And now there are other tools you can use with that, other brushes, like the polish brushes, the trim dynamic and trim adaptive. See, this will just flatten this out, almost like a, you know, a carving of some sort, like so. So that's another one you might noodle with as you're learning this stuff. And then this, I'm going to just start pushing this back in a bit because it's a little too far away from the eye at this point. Okay, but you can kind of see how that starts to have more of a, it starts to look more real. And I might want to just try that again, just to kind of level that out a bit more. And I'll do the same thing up here, a bit of that. Okay. And again, I'm in Sculptress mode now, okay? So you can see I'm getting fine details here, even though the geometry underlying it doesn't really support that. Okay, so if I turn on polyframe, you can kind of see what just happened in there. Okay. Sorry, like I say, I shut up sometimes when I'm working because I can't think while I'm doing two things at once. Okay, so that could probably use some smoothing. It looks a little out of character now because of the density of everything else being surrounded by this high density area. Okay, so if at this point you wanted to build up more detail without the Sculptress, you could turn that off. Okay, we could Dynamesh this again. Okay, and you'll see that kept the detail. Do I have it even on? Let's see. Geometry. Yeah, we're still good. All right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Didn't hold it down far enough. So for smoothing stuff, the standard brush is really fine to just do that with holding the Shift key. Okay, and just kind of lightly do that. And I'm still trying to figure out if I want to keep that cheekbone way up there or not. I'm just torn. I can't decide whether I want this to be down more or up. So I don't know. I'll just leave that up to you guys to make your own decisions about your own version of this thing. Okay. All right. And again, I mostly what I look at is like the silhouette here. You know, that's why that's there, because then you don't get stuck on details, and you can actually start to look at what's actually happening. For some reason, I just keep wanting to make that thing wider. And then sometimes what I'll do also is just put a different material on it to see if that makes it, you know, if that gives me a little bit different perspective on it, or turn perspective on, because you can see how things closer to the camera then start to look a little more exaggerated, and you start to see it in a different way. Then the other thing you can do is this BPR button gives you a render. Okay, so you can click that, and that'll show you with shadows, you know, what's going on a little bit more. Now the shadows on that are really harsh, and let me just show you how you can turn those down. You go to the render palette, the render menu, and under BPR shadow, if you change this angle from 0 to something larger, the shadows will get softer. Okay. Not soft enough apparently for me. So we're just going to turn that up to about there. There we go. So that's a little better, and it does give you a better sense of what's going on, because you can see the shadows under the bony landmarks you put in and things like that. Okay. That ear is probably too far away from the head or the tip, but hey, maybe that's what orcs look like or do. It's not really an orc, is it? It would have different ears if it were an orc. Oh, that's not interesting. Maybe I'll leave that. Never stop screwing with your stuff. It's always fun. That is the fun of a ZBrush. You can make changes so fast. It's just a glory. Okay, let's go back to gray. As fascinating as the skin textures are, let's put my gray back so I'm not tempted to do any other weird stuff with that. Okay, I'm on the move brush, right? And I'm going to push some of this stuff back in the mouth, so we have more of a look at maybe a area where we could put some teeth or other stuff. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of push that back a bit. You know what? I'm going to do that with the just the clay buildup brush and holding down the option key. Okay, that's going to do it a bit more quickly. Okay, and then I can start to make it more throat-like down there. Okay, rather than just keep pushing, this will actually carve into it a bit more. Okay, I'm going to re-dynamesh that. And then if I want, I can use the move to open it up. Okay, push it back some more, like that. Okay. So what if you wanted to do something with, you know, pushing teeth in or something like that? Easy enough. You just want to build out the palette, okay? So you can kind of undo a little bit of that. So you've got the lips, which, you know, there's usually a area right above here where the teeth come out of the bones of the skull, like so. Okay, and we could do something there with masking and just pulling something out. Okay, so let me save this, and we'll just do that in the next episode. Okay, just so these don't get too long. Okay, all right, I'll save this and see you on the other side of this one.